Hi guys, it's Narelle Cook from Canine Ceuticals and welcome to another week of Thursday's Thoughts. This is where I share bite-sized pieces of scientific information that I find interesting and I hope you do too. So this week we're going to look at atopic dermatitis and the connection between gut health, particularly the intestinal microbiota in both humans and dogs. This paper was published in 2016 in the Veterinary Medicine and Science Journal. So basically what they're highlighting is that we need to stop thinking of skin conditions as superficial. Basically, it's a manifestation of a much more systemic problem that is likely involving gut dysbiosis and increased permeability. So that's what we're going to focus on today. So moving through quickly, some of the things that can increase the risk of atopic dermatitis in both us and our dogs. I've spoken about this on a previous Thursday's Thought, but increased indoor air pollution is a huge one. So go back and listen to that. Decreased exposure to infections and microorganisms. We live in a very sterile world now, so that is playing a role. They say genetics will be having a small part to play, but genetics loads the gun. Our environment is what's pulling the trigger. So it really is the choices that we're making in terms of what we eat, where we live, how we live. That's what's going to impact health and disease for both us and our dogs. So they're saying, one of the ways which we can influence the gut microbiota is through diet. So that can change gene expression. And our resident microbiota, they're so important for maintaining the structural and the functional integrity of the gut lining and the immune system, because they're very closely related. So what influences one will absolutely influence the other. And they're saying that disruption of the microbiota, which is also often referred to as dysbiosis, it can affect not just sort of gut health, but extend to other organ systems in the body as well, including skin health. So studies have actually shown differences in the fecal microbiota between humans who have atopic dermatitis and those that don't have atopic dermatitis. They've found differences in the composition and diversity of the gut microbiota in young children who then went on to develop atopic dermatitis compared to those who didn't go on to develop atopic dermatitis. And, the go-to for any gut dysbiosis in human or animal medicine are antibiotics. But they're saying, antibiotic treatment has been reported to increase the risk of atopic dermatitis in people, and, most likely due to those changes in the intestinal microbiota. Impairment of the intestinal mucosal barrier, so decreased integrity of that gut lining, has been involved in the pathogenesis of human atopic dermatitis and is a risk factor for canine food allergy. This is really interesting, and we need to remember this for both us and our dogs, that we can have increased intestinal permeability, or aka leaky gut, without any obvious gut signs or symptoms. So, just because your dog doesn't have gas or bloating or diarrhea or reflux, don't assume that their gut's healthy. And, one of the, really powerful triggers of increased permeability of the gut lining is zonulin. And I'll probably come back to this a bit later, but zonulin is a compound that triggers how do I explain this? Basically increased permeability. So it increases the gap junctions of the cells of the gastric lining. And one of the biggest triggers of zonulin release is gluten. So wheat and a lot of other grains are a major source of gluten. And, that's quite prevalent in what our dogs are being fed now. So they're just saying here, wheat ingestion can cause symptoms of atopic dermatitis, and atopic dermatitis has been found to be 3 times more prevalent or common in patients with celiac disease. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is associated with skin conditions in the animal space. That's often referred to as antibiotic responsive enteropathy. Inflammatory bowel disease has been proposed as another connection between skin issues as well. So I love this. So the authors are saying, this connection between the skin and the gut once we really appreciate that connection exists, and not just for atopic dermatitis, but for other skin conditions as well, it allows us to adopt a more systemic approach to treatment in terms of looking at improving the integrity of the gut lining, etc. And they're saying the conventional anti-inflammatory and sort of antimicrobial therapies such as antibiotics for skin disorders, they may help initially in the short term, but they're more likely than not causing more problems longer term because of their influence on the gut microbiota. So moving through quickly, so what can we do to manipulate the microbiota for the benefit of our dog's gut health and skin health? So, they're saying diet is huge. So Swedish researchers found that when they fed lactating bitches a diet that included non-commercial foods, that it had a protective effect on the development of canine atopic dermatitis in the offspring. So that's really important. And here they're saying, cereal grains, didn't form a major part of the canine ancestral diet, and yet they feature predominantly in so many commercial dog foods. So things like, wheat, rye, barley, all contain gluten, or the authors here say, or equivalent toxic proteins. So I know commercial kibbles are convenient, but if you've got a dog with skin issues, honestly, they're not doing your dog any favours. And to go on, dogs have no minimum dietary requirement for simple carbohydrates or starches. Again, up to 60% of some commercial kibbles can be carbohydrate, and that, cereal-free, low-carbohydrate diet should be considered for any chronic skin disorders, whether or not there is evidence of gastrointestinal disease. So again, optimizing nutrient intake, feeding a species-appropriate nutrient-rich diet that most closely resembles the canine ancestral diet, they're saying would be the most sensible option if a dog is to achieve optimal general health as well as dermatological health, so basically healthy skin. And they're saying, this isn't always easy. They acknowledge that, but good quality raw meat, raw bones, offal, eggs, fish, most of us can access that. So they're saying if that's as close as we can come, great. That's still well ahead of most of the commercial foods out there. And they even make a comment that feeding your dog outside may allow them to ingest naturally occurring soil-based probiotics, which can provide benefit as well. Something a lot of pet owners overlook, but I'm always asking about, is stress. So we know in humans and animals that psychological, physical stress, it absolutely can contribute to intestinal dysbiosis by triggering increased permeability of the gut lining. So, if you've got a dog with skin issues, you really do need to look at how you might minimize stress and anxiety for your dog and just provide a really happy and calming environment for them. Antibiotics, the same, again, may help initially, but more likely to cause issues down the track in terms of increased dysbiosis. And, correcting low stomach acid can also help support healthy gut microbiota. And while they're saying there's no specific evidence-based treatments for treating low gastric acid in dogs, but they're saying protein is one of the main food components with the greatest effect in promoting gastric acid secretion in dogs. So again, coming back to a more species appropriate diet. So there you go. Just such a strong connection. We're learning more and more now about this intimate connection between gut health and every other aspect of health. I mean, today we've looked at the connection between gut health and skin health, but there's gut health and behavior, everything. So do not underestimate the power of looking after your dog's gut. So, I mean, that is what pretty much Canine Pharmaceuticals specializes in. We've got, our core range of gut products. There's Gut Restore, Gut Protect, and the Pure SB. All of them are working slightly differently to optimize, gut health and gut function. So if you've got any questions about the use of those products, please email us at info@caninepharmaceuticals.com.au. We've also got a really great digestive health guide that talks about different aspects of gut health and the different products or the different ingredients and, what benefits they are providing to your dog. So if you go to the website, canineceuticals.com.au, look for the resources tab, then you'll see the guides section. So we've got the digestive health guide, we've got the allergy guide, we've got a cat dosing guide if you've got a cat, and there's lots of more guides on their way. So always, check in to see what's happening there. But I'd love to know, let me know in the comments, have you had a dog with like chronic skin issues such as atopic dermatitis and, you've made some dietary changes to a more species appropriate diet, you've added in some targeted gut supplements, what happened? I know there's several reviews on the Canine Ceuticals website about the benefits of particularly the Gut Protect for helping skin issues that owners were quite surprised to see, because that wasn't the purpose of them starting the Gut Protect. So that's always really great to read. But let me know what your experience is. I'd love to hear about that and to give you some feedback as well. So as always, thank you for another week of Thursday's Thoughts, and I'll see you next week.